Hello, welcome back to Planet 40k. In this video we're going to be talking about the Canoptek Spyders and why they've got so good with this new chapter approved book, Warzone Nephilim. Before we do guys, if you haven't already, just check out our members area. Simply click the blue join button below for more information. All donations go straight back into the channel, on the studio, on the technology, and by 10th edition I'm looking to have all the tech ready in place for battle reports. So that'll be Necron battle reports. Thank you all for the support. Also guys, just one more thing, stick around to the end of the video where we're going to be giving you 3 nasty combos when you're using the Canoptek Spyders. So stick around to the end to see those. Okay, so your Canoptek Spyders have of course got a lovely new balance update, as they've now of course got the core keyword. Let's just briefly take a little moment to check out their datasheet. Now we're not going to be going through the entire datasheet, this isn't a review video, but I just wanted to make it clear why these spiders are actually really good now. So first of all, we used to take them in units of 1 just to pretty much bring back a Scab Swarm unit, whereas now it's actually more optimal to be bringing them in a unit of 3 of them because they got the toughness 6 and 6 wounds apiece. Now when you combine that with the core keyword, they become pretty brutal. Now one of the main synergies that I wanted to begin the video with is bringing the Silent King, everybody's personal favourite, Mr. Auto include himself. Of course, he's got all the abilities that are going to affect core units. They're going to be able to reroll the hit rolls at range. They're going to be able to reroll their wound rolls in melee. They're going to gain an extra inch of movement. And of course, a +1 to hit with the My Will Be Done ability, which can affect 2 different units. Now further to add to this synergy, of course, the spiders can come with the Fabricator Claw Array, which can repair a Dynasty vehicle model within 3 inch of it, D3 lost wounds. Now of course, you will need to have the Zerrikan Dynasty if you're going to be using this on the Silent King, because he's got the Zerrikan Dynasty keyword. Now if you want the My Will Be Done from other avenues, of course you've got the Catacomb Command Barge, or you've got the Overlord models. They've got the exact same abilities, My Will Be Done and Relentless March. Now Illuminor Szeras, who's made a nice comeback with this chapter approved data slate, he's of course got the Mechanical Augmentation ability, and this is going to work on your Canoptek Spyders perfectly, especially if you're going to be kitting them out with the Particle Beamers as well. So it is a random result, but they're all pretty decent. A +1 to the strength to make them strength 7. So they're of course going to get a +2 to their strength with their actual claws, which will make strength 9. And then there's further ways to boost that as well, which we'll go over later in this video. Result number 2 is to add 1 to the toughness, so they're now going to be toughness 7. That's very tanky on a model that's only 60 points. Or you're going to be altering the ballistic skill to give them a ballistic skill value of a 3+. Again, if you're taking the particle beamers, that's going to be perfect. Now, due to the fact that you can also take the Gloom Prisms on the Canoptek Spyders, so that's an anti-psych, a bit of war gear, you can also use the ability that the Illuminor Szeras has, which is the Empiric Overcharger ability, so it's another anti-psycher ability. In particular, if you're going with the Zerrikan Dynasty, that's really the best anti-psycher dynasty that we actually have. To further boost Illuminor Szeras' place with the Canoptek Spider for that synergy is the Rites of Reanimation ability. Any friendly Necron core units within 6 inches, you can simply reanimate a model. So if you've got a unit of 3 spiders, you lose 1, you can simply pop 1 back into play every single turn in your command phase. Very similarly, of course, with the Technomancer, you can do the exact same thing, although there is a slight restriction with this one. You do need to have the same Dynasty code as the Technomancer, which you pretty much should be at this stage. In match play, you can only have 1 Dynasty, so not really a restriction at all. Now, also with the Technomancer, you can get the Arcana, the Failsafe Overcharger. So if your spiders are within 9 inches of the Technomancer, you're going to get a +D3 attacks per spider in the unit, because they're of course monster models. So if you've got a unit of 3 of them, D3 attacks per spider, you could potentially get an additional 9 attacks at strength 8 just by using the Failsafe Overcharger, and that happens every single command phase. The Technomancer's also got some other pieces of war gear. Now you can only select one of these options, but both of them are pretty decent for the Canoptek Spyders. The first one being the Canoptek Cloak, so you can basically regain D3 lost wounds to a Dynasty model within 3 inches. That's going to help keep the spiders alive. Or you can use the Control Node for a +1 to hit, because they start at a 4+ to hit, whether it's weapon skill or ballistic skill, but when you've got this Canoptek Control Node, that will come up to a 3+. Now if you didn't fancy the Failsafe Overcharger, you can use the Hypermaterial Ablatar, a Canoptek unit within 9 inches of the bearer. Any range attacks made against those Canoptek units that are more than 12 inches away, your spiders effectively gain light cover. So now all of a sudden, you've got these quite tanky models with a 2+ armor save. Now moving on to one of the named characters, which is Anrak the Traveller. He's got the Lord of the Pyrian Legion's aura, so it's going to be a +1 to the attacks characteristics of models within the unit. That's a core unit within 6 inches. If you've got a unit of 3 of them, that's going to be 3 extra attacks at strength 8. The one that I quite like is using the Chronomancer with the Chronometron ability, just to give them that reroll to the charge roll as well as the in-run save. Of course, they don't have a standard in-run save. This is one of those methods to actually give them an in-run save, which would of course keep them up and running. Now if you wanted to fall back and shoot with these guys, or fall back and charge as well, you can do both. You can bring out a Royal Warden, the adaptive strategy ability for a Dynasty core unit within 9 inches. So pretty much all of these abilities from characters are being used on Dynasty core units. This is why all of these synergies are so important to the Canoptek Spyders, because of course they've gained core. Now as for some odds and sods for the rest of the codex, you can use a Veil of Darkness relic on your Spyders because of course they're core. So you can be flashing them across the board, turn 1, turn 5, it doesn't really matter. You can be doing that for 1 command point because of course relics cost command points now. Then finally we've got the Implacable Conqueror aura to give them their reroll to their charge roll. Similar to the Chronomancer, but this one's a Warlord trait. Again, it's going to cost you a command point. Now going back to the actual Canoptek Spider itself, why it was used quite commonly previously was to be bringing back Scarab Swarms. Now Scarab Swarms are probably our best unit in our codex. They're only 15 points a model, and if you're using that self-destruction stratagem to be blowing up your Canoptek Scarab units, you can be bringing one back each turn with a Canoptek Spider nearby. Now we mustn't forget the stratagems that are available to the Canoptek Spiders. You've got Enslaved Protectors for a command point to allow them to heroically intervene as if they were a character. You can also now use the Prismatic Dimensional Breach for a command point because they're core now, so they could be popping out of a Night Scythe, maybe even a Monolith if you really wanted to, as long as they're wholly within 3 inches of the Night Scythe or Monolith. But it's going to make an easier charge range if you're doing those. The final stratagem worth a mention, Disruption Fields for a command point. Again, it's a core unit that this affects. It's going to be a +1 to the strength characteristics of the models in the unit. Now this is one of the methods of bringing out the strength. We're going to go over another method later in this video. So going back to the Canoptek Spyders actual datasheet, we've not really spoken about the actual weapons that these things have. So you've got 2 particle beamers which are 18-inch range, assault 6. You've got 2 of them, so that's going to be 12 shots per Canoptek Spider, and if you've got a unit of 3 of them, that's going to be 36 strength 5 shots. Okay, there's no AP and there's only 1 damage, but 36 strength 5 shots isn't something to ignore, is it? Then further to add to that, of course, they've got the strength 8 claws at -3 AP and 2 damage. They're going to be slicing up marines like butter. Now as for Dynasty codes, what are the best Dynasty codes for the Canoptek Spyders? Now I've got 4 listed here. The first one of course is the Zerakan Dynasty. Because it's an anti-Psyker model, it's going to work quite nicely with the Silent King, with Illuminor Szeras. And there's a couple of Forge World models as well that have got the Gloom Prisms as options for the war gear. Then further to add to that Dynasty code, they've got the 5+ Feel No Pain save against mortal wounds, which is likely going to be smite attack, so again that's more anti-psychery with that Dynasty. Now the second one is the Nihilak Dynasty. This dynasty is of course the objective secured dynasty. Now when you've got 3 very tanky models holding an objective, it's going to be very difficult to shift 18 wounds that are toughness 6. Now Rad Reaved is one of the custom options with the ancient dynasties. I wanted to put that in here because there's a command protocol that you can use army wide, which will allow you to have an extra 3 inches to your aura ability, so you don't actually have to be within engagement range in order to give that -1 to enemy toughnesses. So that one can be really nasty. I mean, even if you don't use that protocol, it's still pretty nasty, especially when you're going up against toughness 5 models, because you're dropping them down to toughness 4, and now of course your strength 8 claws are going to be wounding them on 2s. Now you compare that Rad Reaved with the Relentlessly Expansionist custom code to give them that pre-game 6-inch movement, because the Spiders aren't the quickest. They can be made quicker with Relentless March, but getting that 6-inch pre-game movement can get them to their destination nice and early. Now we spoke about the protocols. Now very similar to the Silent King video we did recently, I just wanted to quickly go through the best options to take if you're using the Canoptek Spyders as your mainstay of your list. Now from Eternal Guardian, Directive 1 is probably the best option here, because once they get to their position, they're not going to be moving that often, so they may be gaining light cover for that 2+ armor save. Now Protocol of Sudden Storm, both of them are pretty good options if I'm honest with you, because they are quite slow, so the extra movement is quite handy. But Directive 2 is also quite interesting because they can be performing the actions while still using their ranged attacks, and that of course means they can be doing their Ancient Machineries action because they're a Canoptek unit. Now of course they're not going to be able to charge while doing this action, so there is a drawback to that one. Protocol of Vengeful Stars, both of them are pretty good, pick what you want from there. As for Protocol of Hungry Void, using Directive 2 to get a +1 to your strength, so this is another way of getting a +1 to your strength. There's 3 ways within the codex. You've got Illuminor Szeras, you've got the Stratagem Disruption Fields, and you've got the Protocol of Hungry Void. So if all the stars align correctly, you can get a +3 to your strength if you really tried. As for Protocol of Undying Legions, Directive 1 is the only one that's of any use here. Living Metal, regaining an additional lost wound per your spider model. Then finally, from the Conquering Tyrant, it's only really Directive 1 that's got any use, and that's if you're using that Rad-Reaved aura. Otherwise, none of them are going to be working that well. Okay, Directive 2, you can fall back and shoot, but you don't really need to fall back when you've got Strength 8 weapons. Okay, so as mentioned in the intro of the video, we're going to be mentioning 3 nasty combinations that I've got for you when using the Canoptek Spyders. So starting off with nasty combo number 1, we've kind of already mentioned it, Permanent Protocol of Conquering Tyrant, using Directive 1 to add 3 inches to the aura abilities of all the models, and what you're going to of course pair this with is the Rad-Reaved, as we already mentioned. So now all of a sudden the Rad-Reaved ability is going to be a 4-inch aura as opposed to a 1-inch aura. So you're going to be minusing 1 to toughnesses of enemy models 4 inches away. So you can actually be within 4 inches, take shots at them at range, and then make the charge move. Now, quite important here, you can still fire out of that 4-inch range into those units. You only need to have one of your models to be within 4-inch range for the rest of your army to actually benefit from that. And that could even include dynastic agents and Catan shards that are making ranged attacks. As long as you've got a model with a dynasty code that's within that 4-inch radius, everybody else in the army is going to benefit because it's a -1 to the enemy toughness as opposed to buffing the actual strength of your, say, Catan shard models. So further to add to this, you get the Technomancer with the Loadout relic and the failsafe overcharger. We already mentioned that in the video as well. Getting D3 attacks per spider, and of course Loadout relic in them as well to a desired position is really nice. Okay, on to nasty combo number 2 with the Nihilak Dynasty objective secured. What you do, you get a load of Canoptek Scarabs, because of course the spiders are going to be bringing Scarabs back, and then furthermore you get the Technomancer with the control node. Now that control node is going to be +1 to the attack hit rolls of Canoptek units within 6 inches. But further to add to that, of course, he's got the Rites of Reanimation ability, but when you've got objective secured on a 3-monster unit of Canoptek Spyders, that's a lot of wounds to get through. Then of course all the Scarab Swarms on top of that can be brought back each and every turn. You're bringing a spider back every turn. This unit, as well as the Scarabs and the Technomancer, are going to be almost impossible to get rid of. So that's nasty combo number 2. Now as for combo number 3, we're going to be using the Zerakan Dynasty, and this is like an anti-Psychoid Dynasty. Now this combo is quite expensive if I'm honest with you, but I can't wait to try this out. So of course the Zerakan Dynasty is important because it's got the Empiric Damping Stratagem. For 1 command point on a 4+, you can deny a power. Okay, part 2 of this, of course, you take the Silent King, another anti-psycho model. If you're flanking 2 units of Canoptek Spyders with this thing, as already mentioned earlier in this video, there's going to be a lot of buffs to your Canoptek Spyders. Then the main part of this jigsaw is taking Illuminor Szeras. Now why this is such a crazy combination is Illuminor Szeras can use his Rites of Reanimation twice in a battle round, and a further time if you wanted to with the Stratagem, so he can be using it 3 times if he really wanted to. So you can be bringing back a spider. You can currently be bringing back a Trichomania, and until that gets FAQ'd of course. He's then going to be using his mechanical augmentation on all the units around him. He's got the Empiric Overcharger aura ability for anti-psychery again. Then furthermore he's got his Eldritch Lance as well, which is pretty decent anyway. It's got D3 attacks at strength 8 with D6 damage. So all in all, that combination is quite pricey, but it's an absolute nightmare to get rid of. And those spiders of course are going to be providing the Lookout Sir bubble for Illuminor Szeras, so he's going to be staying alive, and he's going to be bringing back those spiders to help his actual Lookout Sir rule as well. So guys, that's everything I've got for you today for the Canoptek Spyders. If you've got any more combinations and strategies with the Canoptek Spyders, put it in the comments below, let us have a chat about it, or alternatively jump on our Discord and we can have a good chat about it in the general chat there. Now don't forget to also like and subscribe to the channel if you're finding these videos useful. There's still 60% of you viewers out there that haven't actually subscribed, so I really appreciate it if you could subscribe. So yeah, other than that guys, all that's left to say is thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.